This is Karina back with, I think we're left on step number 6, and that's about the market makers, the ECN brokers, the STP brokers, and all that information that, of course, many things are being said, but some of them are just not true. So in terms of the brokerage industry in general, we don't know the facts because, of course, we don't access to that information. We don't know exactly what the type of execution that we finally get from the brokers, because we're just not in the back office. We're not in the kitchen of the brokers, so we don't know exactly how that works. But something is for sure. Today, I will say 100% of the brokers, they are market makers in terms of those retail accounts. For brokers, retail accounts are those of less than $1,000 up to $5,000, $10,000, and those small investments. For a broker, they consider a potential of the account not to be basically on the market making side, but to be an STP or an ECN type only when it's approximately about the 10K. That's at least the information that we get to access to. So, for all the accounts that are lower than that, I can guarantee you that you're going to have, the broker gives you the other side of the trade. So here is what is actually a lot of being said, but not really truth, because if the broker makes you is actually doing the other side of the trade, basically he's trading against you, is because the broker is giving you that price that you need. It's giving you the liquidity that you need in order to trade. So, and there's nothing wrong about that. What it comes to the wrong side of the market makers is when they do the bad practices, because technically a market maker makes their profit not only for volume but also for the losses of the client, since the transaction is not going through any liquidity provider. It's just staying at home, staying at the broker, so he's just going to take care of your transaction. Now, like I said, the problem for market makers is the bad practices. Basically, when they, on purpose do the stop loss activation, then on purpose they could, do a slippage, and those things that we know it's based on bad practices in the trading online. So, but in the other side, you can be with one of the top 5 brokers, and if your transactions are low or your investments are low, and let's say you trade mini lots or standard lots, but you don't go over 50 lots, I'm 100% sure you're going to have the counterpart of the broker. Basically, your transaction is going to stay in the broker. They're not going to get you in the open market for that trade. So, because of course I ask, but like I said, we don't know for sure because we ask, but that's the information they provide us, but we don't know the facts. So the only way to basically trust the information is when brokers have regulations. And I'm not talking about any regulation, like the big ones, the FSA. If the broker has to respect the FSA standards, they have to communicate everything they do in terms of traders' transactions, their clients' transactions. So, they can't just say whatever or write any or whatever email. Of course, everything is being audited and monitored by a regulator. So, I guess that's the only side of the two type of brokers in the world that we all talk about. I don't trade on market makers. I mean, if your investment is low and you trade, like I said, like low lots, not above 50 lots, then you are being on a market maker situation. And again, nothing bad with that. There's nothing wrong. In fact, it's actually a good thing. Otherwise, we couldn't trade with low investments, because the broker, of course, has to, pay an infrastructure, liquidity breach to give you the access to the market. So, but at this point, I think that most brokers are being more honest after the ESMA situation and many things that happened in the brokerage industry in general. So, they're not saying that much now that, your account is 100% ECN or it's 100% STP, your transactions are going into the open market and stuff like that. at least I haven't heard that for a while for like retail brokers. Nowadays they're telling you, yeah, we are market makers, and just if your account is on this side and you plan to open lower than 50 lots, then you have to, and you are going to be in a market making situation. All right, I really hope that really tip helps you to kind of trust and know what to trust and what not to trust in terms of brokers' information.